You're listening to the Paranormal UK Radio Network, and now it's time for the Paranormal Peep Show.
Welcome, you're listening to the Paranormal Peep Show on the Paranormal UK Radio Network, and I'm your host, Neil Ward. Now today we have a slightly different show for you. On Saturday, May the 10th, I ventured over to Reading to meet up with Ben Emlyn-Jones and also former guest Gary Robinson. We met up at Wetherspoons pub in the heart of Reading in Berkshire in the UK. And we discussed all manner of things, but of course we did come back to the woo subjects. So stay tuned for the Paranormal Peep Show live in Reading.
Hello! Hi! It's us! It's Ben! How you doing? Hemel-Hempstead. Yeah. We're in the Wetherspoons. Me, Gary, and Neil, and Monica.
Yeah.
Yep, we arrived a bit late, but we got here in the end. Yeah, we're having a lovely chat. Jumping from one musical tech talk with Gary to woo stuff with Ben, and I'm sure it's going to go right now through afternoon, actually.
It's great when I'm never happier than when we woo-woos get together and socialise like this. You know, Wetherspoons, where else?
I mean, we always assemble with our massive amounts of documents of hardened proof and evidence for everything woo that we're challenged. And this is it, or stuff.
Press. And see that. Myself with him. Will do. On Casey, this is the American bird, but making triple bird this time. Thank you very much.
You've got the same meal by the looks of these.
Yeah, it was
some sauce.
American triple bow.
What sauce do you want?
Maybe a bit of ketchup, Ben, would be great.
Right, you are. American triple bird.
Yeah.
That looks pretty healthy. It looks like it would...
They're kind of mini, but they are a triple.
Yeah, very good.
I don't think that's a very healthy option, to be honest, but...
Now, hang on, what happened to Ben's diet? He was going to be on some sort of...
yeah, he didn't mention
monk's
that
diet.
Actually, yeah.
Yeah, monkey sort of spiritual diet. He was telling me this is the Christmas period, isn't it?
I guess the diet's went out the window. I just had a memory about being in San Antonio, Texas once, and I got to this bar late at night, and they said, sorry, the kitchen's on limited availability. All we've got is... mini burgers. So I think a mini burger sounds good. And when the burgers were delivered, they were larger than this.
They were 12 spoons. They're normally better than that.
And so that was mini full the size.
Mini for day.
Yeah.
So we have the strips and chips.
Your peppers, that's it. Maybe there's still a bit be there. No, that's great.
There we go. And the two also colour enjoy that.
Thank you. Wow.
Pepper here, do you want pepper?
I'm alright.
Looks like I got a Swiss roll, which is...
Trying to say
Oh. Do you push them down the Eiger? Sorry.
strips and chips. It's strips and chips, but it is a bit of a...
So, this is going to be a special Paranormal Peep Show
non-London episode. This is a woo-woo social. I mean, you can't beat them. They're the best in the world.
We're sending the invoice to Paranormal UK Radio Network.
Yes.
It's a business meeting.
Irene, you've got to pay her. And Mark.
Yeah.
I think I see a couple of men in black over the back there.
That's right. Yeah, they want chips as well.
Be careful what you're talking about.
Oh, man. Okay, and do you want some?
Yeah, it's alright. I think we need to get
See if we're on a bottle. This will call us. No, I don't need to do something. Anyway, I was going to say you guys something. You might be familiar with this, Ben. Menna gave me a book, which was on Christmas, but it's an old book she found, and she gave it to me recently. And it's a book about the moon and moon missions and things like that. So I took some photographs of some pages because normally you get all these pictures online, but these ones seem to be super sharp quality. And I actually found some pictures that I've looked at before. if I can find a blurry image. Let me go back to all photos that I've got with.
Often it'd be shots that are not very well distributed that Paul would maybe not come across before.
Yeah, most people don't even see them. Here we go. So this is from Apollo 17, and I've seen this image before.
Oh, yeah.
I've always seen it. Do you remember that?
I recognise this
Yeah.
image.
Yeah, and I don't know what it is, but I've got a closer up picture as well. There's two things. So there's this, which I thought, what the hell's that?
What is that?
Yeah. So then I've got a closer image, and it looks like some sort of door. Like you could almost imagine a train door or a plane door or something like that. What the hell? It seems to be half buried in the dirt. But then, and I upload this to ChatGTP, and it says it's definitely a rectangular structure of some sort. You know?
What's the half buried then?
Is this the end of the set wall here? See the straight lines that yeah?
Oh, yeah.
And then you've got a dividing line, and it goes across there to another line.
And that at the back there looks like it's got a different kind of focus.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it probably would have a different focus, but I'm just thinking, so, yeah, look, the structure there, stop, a dead line down, and then go across there.
Because that's how Stanley Kubrick used to do it, was he? There was the hand, but
Yeah, the Kubrick lines. Yeah. So it's like a wall there, and there's a bit down there, and a bit down there, a bit down there, and then the background becomes less detailed, sort of green.
That was the name that he gave to that technique, because there's a name for it, isn't there?
Rear projection.
Right.
So the idea is that you would have a translucent screen, and the protagonists say that it's actually probably done on a projection screen made by 3M, who invented these reflective beads, and they put them onto this screen in their thousands, and they reflected the light that was projected from a projector of some sort onto the screen, and when it's all correctly exposed, this would come up or show up. They did it for Superman, this rear projector sort of stuff, you know.
And it worked very well. I mean, because Thomas Kubrick did use that in the moon scenes on 2001.
Yeah. So there's that, and then there was something else. Something else, I can't remember what it was in this fiction. But I've like, let me just find. Don't know if I might not have it on here, but that was this one here. That's a Russian moon lander.
Oh yes, I've seen
really Jules.
That's what they planned for.
Yeah,
it looks very steampunk, doesn't it?
Oh, by the way, see you laughing in the bonnet.
That's what they planned for their own steampunk of the NR moon mission, which they never actually. Yeah. They did test it in orbit.
Yeah.
But they apparently cancelled for some reason. I mean, it's never been explained exactly why they cancelled their moon mission. They saw they had a disaster where the rocket blew up.
That's right, the M1 rocket.
But then they just sort of like said, "Oh, forget that. Then we'll just focus on low Earth orbit," which to me sounds a bit weird because.
Well, it doubled up as a great washing machine.
But I mean, it is odd that they just sort of like cancelled it. And they just because they could have like got there first.
Yeah.
Which would have been like a hat trick in terms of the space exploration.
It kind of looks like the destroyers from Star Wars walk along in the and this the AT walkers, and in the Clone Wars there's one that looks exactly like that walks around.
I suppose they got their inspiration from that sort of thing. I've always wondered about, for instance, Buzz Aldrin, and like you go to earlier pictures of him, to me he doesn't look like the same guy. That's, isn't it? You know, that's him in 1969. And I know, obviously, people age, but he's obviously, he was losing his hair then, but suddenly his hair grows back, or I don't know, he's got a two-pack. He does look like a different guy to me.
That is very strange. We would never know if they were actors. Yeah, and life actors.
Yeah. I mean, I do know that he's been out of the media lately because he's been sort of like, because he is unfortunately suffering from dementia, he's been letting slip a few things that he shouldn't. Yeah, definitely time to retire.
Yeah.
But this is. By the way, have you seen Saxon has got a song about Roswell?
Who's got this?
Saxon.
Saxon?
Yeah.
I mean, old heavy metal band.
I didn't even know they were still going. In fact, I thought they were all dead. I assume they died of drug overdose and gonorrhea years ago. But no, they're still good. They did an international tour 2 years ago. I mean,
they're in their 70s.
It's a really quite amusing seeing them prancing around on stage in leather. They got these 75-year-old guys with long white hair.
Yeah.
They did do a tour and. They got a song about Roswell. It's called "There's Something in Roswell."
Wow.
Yeah, I wrote an article about it like a couple of days ago, and I was really surprised because I heard of them since I was a kid. I had no idea they were still around.
Wheels of Steel and Strangers in the Night.
It's like I was never a fan of them, to be honest.
And the live albums of theirs some years ago, and I used to know a few bass lines on them.
Right. They were. Here we go. This is it. Look. I had no idea they were even still alive. Oh, ads. Bloody ads. You know, rock stars don't normally live that long. I say drug overdose, gonorrhea and stuff.
I think they have lineup changes, and then normally it's the central core guy of the singer.
There's Biff, the Biff Byford, and there's the other one. I can't remember his name, but they've been with it since the beginning. They've been there literally 50 years. Oh, but they've had some new one. That's him.
Yeah.
76 or something years now, and then all the others are almost as old.
There used to be a bass player, Steve something or other his name was, and he used to have like a baseball cap hat.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's still in it. He's still there. He's changed his hair, but he's still in it. I know you...
He was going bald at the time, so I don't think...
Oh, no, go ahead. Go ahead, have it, yeah. But, I mean, they haven't changed their style. I mean, they're still very 80s, aren't they?
Yeah.
Look, the head banging along the hair and stuff. Still very glam rock, new wave, kind of heavy metal side. You can't really hear the... but look at the images. You can't really hear them.
Wow, there's something in those. I like that. Look. Oh, wow, cool.
Let's see, look at the images there. That's a picture they do it, yeah. No. The Roswell Daily News, there we go.
Has he admitted to being into UFOs or something?
I'm not to my knowledge. The first time, I mean, I hadn't heard the Freedom for about, since I was about 18. And then suddenly, Saxon, I've got something actually, someone told me Saxon, I've got Saxon? But anyone younger than me once, what are you talking about? And I looked it up, and there was old Biff Byford, a really old Biff Byford, doing this song, and I thought, wow, I thought, not only are they still going, they're singing about things like this.
Crikey.
And he's like Biff is like he does all the composition and lyrics. I mean, he had the brains behind the band.
Yeah.
I thought he must have heard about all this.
They're from Sheffield, are we?
Yeah. They're from somewhere in the north of England, yeah.
All celebrities are into the subject, like Paul Sinclair and Truth Proof. He had Robbie Williams on.
Yeah, Robbie Williams.
And he said the other day he's going to visit in next week, so he do some filming.
Robbie Williams is an experience. He said when he was a kid, he
was kidnapped to Pioneer.
He had abduction experiences, yeah.
Hey, really?
And he went through a phase when he was going to all the conferences and things like that. He stopped when basically people were taking the piss out of him because the tabloids really ripped him to bits.
Yeah.
Oh, horrible. They had a picture of him dressed as this old farm with a cloth cap, and it was and making out he's some kind of yokel, and it was a bit much for him, He just thought it's unfortunately, he took a step back after that, which is sad. It's sad that he feels put in that position.
He might be in a better position now, though, wouldn't he? Because now they're doing Congress and these talks, and
he did a whole episode of Truth Proof, didn't he?
So I'll have to listen to that.
I know Paul had him on the show. From the Paul show, it goes like the same time as mine. It goes at 8 p.m. every Thursday. It says his show, and it's unfortunately there's only so many hours in the day,
Yeah.
I mean, I like Paul. Paul's a good guy.
I've never met him, but he sounds like a good bloke.
Oh, he goes to all the conferences. You'll see him at Awaken at the White Car, and he was at the OLM, the one they did in Manchester, the Manchester Awakening, and the Blackpool Awakening.
Remember the one where you went in disguise, the one and they did the Sunday episode saying something we've got to mention, boys, and Emlyn-Jones. He cracks up off.
I feel guilty, actually. I did apologise to him after when I saw him again in Awakening Manchester, because I'd say, look, Paul, because I did speak to him in my fake. He said, Ben, I didn't know that was you. I really didn't know that was you. And I said, it must have been pretty good then.
I bet him he thought that you were taking the piss out of them, but you thought you were going to get kicked out.
Yeah. There were a couple who actually thought I was... They thought I was like that. So the other guy who they didn't want in, Russ Kellett, they thought I was Russ Kellett. Because they thought it was Russ Kellett in disguise, and they followed me for a little while.
Totally did a number on it.
Yeah, it was Paul. There was a couple of other people that was on the field there. Thank you. And they followed me for a while, which is why I stayed in character when I was in my hotel room. And after I
need to sleep
on the night. Oh well, when I was in my hotel room, the only place I could take my disguise on was in my hotel room. I only thought of this when I got there, and I suddenly realised there's going to be delegates here staying. I can't let anyone know I'm in town, because they'll work out it's me.
Yeah.
They'll say, "What's Ben doing here? He's banned from the conference, and he's in a town where a conference is where he's been banned from."
Didn't you have the Zimmer freight as well?
The two walking sticks. Yeah, I had to pretend to be disabled. That was a good way of covering up my own appearance, by the way, on my own
Good real method acting. That really was going to tear streets on. It was, I went hard, like working on my look and how I'd speak, and you could have claimed here. I mean, everyone said, why don't I go to such lengths? It's because I was banned from. I just got so upset at the Chris Bailey.
Was it a ban? Because I keep hearing different things. Oh, we didn't ban you. We sent you a ticket. I don't know what the truth is.
He literally said to me, I bought a ticket, and he contacted me saying, why have you bought a ticket to my conference? I said, I want to go. And then there was like a pause, and he said, Ben, you know Sasha's going to be there, and Alison, and David Young, and all these people are going to be there.
And now David Jones is.
Yeah, exactly. Feel free to record this. It's all right. Everyone knows this anyway. And he said, you do know they're going to be there, don't you? And I says, yeah. And then I expected him to reply, but he didn't reply. But then like a few hours later, I got a message saying, Ben, I've returned your ticket, man. I'm afraid I've got to ask you not to attend. I can't believe the good order will be maintained if you're there. And I said, look, Tris, I'm not going to cause any trouble. And he says, unfortunately, I don't want to take the risk, so could you please not attend? And I was like, really? That upset me because I've never been banned from a conference before.
It's not nice to feel unwelcome.
No, because I mean, if there was a criticism you could make of me, I suppose you could say that some people find me a little bit overbearing. In other words, I get over enthusiastic, and I get conference fever, as I call it, where I get just a little bit wild and I get a little bit intense, and I get in people's faces. And I become a bit exuberant, too extrovert, and some people find that intimidating, and not through any fault of my, But I mean, that's the only real criticism you could make of me at a conference, and I've never been, and that doesn't warrant a ban.
Yeah, I mean, you are at a conference, so you've got to get into the spirit.
Yeah, and I do it. It goes to my head sometimes, but apart from that, you can't make any criticism of my conduct. I've never given any course. I've been going to conferences since 2006 when I went to Probe the first time. I've never, in all that time, ever given anyone any cause of concern about my presence at a conference. I've been invited to speak at many of them, and I've spoken at many of them.
So you were first probed in 2006?
I was probed deeply. In fact, I was kind of hooked from the moment I got there. I literally was. I thought, this is for me. And I've been to almost all the other ones since, until conference shut down. And so, so that was very upsetting. So I decided to, when the conference restarted after the letdown, and Outer Limits Magazine 2 came along, I managed to get hold of a ticket. Never mind how, but I managed to get hold of a ticket from a third party, shall we say.
Okay.
And I just thought, well, I can't look in there because they'll know it's me. And so I thought, I'm going to have to wear a disguise. What sort of disguise can I wear? And I started
come up with the David Jones disguise.
I started thinking about what would I need to look different. And I thought, I'll need different clothing, which I'd want like a shirt and tie. I'll need like a hat to cover my head so no one can see the shape of my head, because my face covering, which is very easy to use an excuse. This was just after COVID, and a lot of people were still wearing masks. So I said, you had a mask, didn't you? And but what about the sunblock? I'll need something to cover my eyes, because the thing about recognition, like recognizing people, is and I did wonder about this, but when you see someone, the way it works, your brain works, is you see a few little markers about somebody, basic symbols, basic features of their face, and only when you see those does your brain lock into more detailed images of that particular person.
Yeah.
And if you don't give the person the initial trigger for recognition, your brain does not look for the others. So I thought, if I do that, no one's going to know it's me. And if I disguise my voice and I sort of talk like this, and also I pretended I was ill. I had a disability to cover up my gait.
The result was the most powerful.
Yeah. So I wouldn't look like I normally do when I walk. My face was covered. And I actually have gloves on as well, because I came up with this idea that I was sensitive to sunlight. I had a disease where I was sensitive to sunlight. Yeah. So I had a sun hat on all the time, even indoor. They was best.
Cover yourself with the sticks and everything.
Yeah.
It was that tricky though. It sounds an awful.
I just put the camera there, and I've walked into the hotel room with my disguise on. It's in the video. Yeah. And believe it or not, I did get away with it. I mean, it's really odd, because no one said a word, but then I went home and uploaded the video, and then of course the copes begin. Everyone is covered. Everyone is posting on Facebook. Yeah, we knew it was Ben all along. We decided
saying as well, you can sell the video on the day. that you just breeze through. Nobody even stared at me. Nobody even looked at her.
Only the people who thought I was Russ Kellett, and they followed me around. But honestly, but then I didn't know who these people were. There's only like 2 or 3 of them who thought I might be Russ Kellett, and I wasn't. He's banned as well. But what's really odd is that that if they knew it was me, why did no one say a single word on social media until there's Ben's here, but we're going to let him get away with it. Ben's here. No one said a single word. And I know
They didn't say anything until proof is on.
Yeah, until my video was uploaded, and that's when it all came out. And also the organizer said, "Oh Ben, but I did send you a ticket. No, because he showed me like a document that looked like an inventory where my name appears. I thought anyone could make that up. It was all a code."
Because you had a guy in your comments who was harassing you for about a year and a half. Asking you to prove whether you were right or Rochelle.
Oh, somebody, this is
had a bit of an issue. That guy had a bit of a problem.
I ended up having to block him. He was like a head case. Totally, like he was just commenting on something on the comment. He wouldn't talk about anything else, and I just don't want to discuss this anymore. We started getting angry, so I blocked him.
But it really threw a spanner in the works of the comic book works, because
Does he what they call it? Off AD,
a big forum for every tweet, and
but he was like, a quarter of the entire comments reply video was between through his long comments, and in the end I just had to say to him, look, I'm not going to report this issue anymore. So he got very angry, he started abusing me, so I blocked him.
He did start to sound unhinged.
Yes,
season 2 was you should quite polite.
and it's really funny though, since then Chris, because the last one we did, Chris sent me, he actually sent me like a flyer. He said, "Do you want to come along this to me, Ben? You can come as yourself this time."
People out there right now using the race and religion thing as a way to attack people. I've got a We Planet TV channel on YouTube where I upload the classics, just the UFO stuff, and it's starting to get quite a lot of traffic. But what I notice is the more traffic, the more comments I get from empty channels, and those comments are normally aimed at Richard, and they're all in the racist or nonce or something equally horrible.
That is quite like the calls and it's part of the course. I get these every so often as well. When I go to the channel page, it's exactly the same. Complete blank channel. No uploads, no faves yet. No avatar, nothing. It's just someone, someone's literally, and if we look at the date when the channel was established, it's usually like a week before. Someone's literally created a YouTube channel, probably someone I've already blocked. And it's usually probably one of the droid controllers, who just say horrible things about somebody or me. Usually if they say horrible things about me and stuff like this. So, we don't take any of these things seriously. No, the droids are different. The droids, I can spot them, you see, the droids, because they're very bad actors. And I know them all. I know there's more than one person, because sometimes their spelling's better than others.
Where did the word droids come from? Or the called?
It's a very sci-fi.
You know who you're talking about. We're seriously droids.
Well, the ringleader is called Julian, and I know who he is because I met him. I actually met him, and he was a member of the David Icke Forum. And he actually met him in 2007 at the David Icke Forum meetup. Something of fact. He was a creepy little guy called Julian.
He sounds like a...
Yeah, and he's... Why they do this, I don't know. Why they've latched on some... I've done nothing to provoke us. But it's him and his mates, and there's old Lonot. There's at least 4 of them I know through the IP addresses they use, and the fact that they're always seen online. I think I think some of them are in other countries, because in different time zones, because they all seem to be. One of them's
unless, of course, she can get these VIP proxy things, can't you? It gives the impression you're in an icon.
Yeah, they get using that. But they're always online. They never seem to sleep. I always get replies very quickly when they used to sneak into my forum, and now But then he was exposed because he had another proxy called Tiswas, this was like a character who was like an old Indian lady who loved cats. And I found out that Julian was Tiswas, you see, and I realised that they were through the IP addresses. I realised that Tiswas was posting from the same IP as Droid, and I realised that Droid and Tiswas was the same person. The Droid thing, I don't know. I think it may come from John Drake, because he was one of his proxies he used on the David Icke Forum. He used to do the same thing on David Icke Forum. He used to keep joining and mouthing off and then got banned. He used to come back with another username. But the John Drake is supposedly one of the names, or I don't know where the idea is. Cancer the Prisoner. Want to know who number 6 is?
Mr. McGowan's character, and apparently there's some theory, and I don't know how they came. His name's John Drake, and that was shortened to Drake, and eventually it was like corrupted into Droik, and I've known him as Team Droik ever since.
The horrible word, it paints a picture of like something dodgy old looking wrong.
That's exactly look.
But you went to meet him for a fight in Watford, wasn't it?
Challenged him to. I just got fed up with him one day, and I said, "Look, this because he came back. He joined the forum under the username. What's the username? I can't remember. I've actually preserved it. I preserved the thread, but it was like the avatar was like Charles Bronson, not the actor, but the prisoner that no one could control. The guy that he was this big bald guy. He was so violent they had to put him in solitary confinement all the time. Yeah. He seems like quite a character. I mean, he was an artist and everything, so he had this sensitive side to himself. Anyone who went near him, he just punched him in the face. But then he started mouth locking under this, and in the end, I just said to him, "Look, do you want to meet up? I can't do this anymore. Let's just meet up and have a little discussion about this man to man, face to face." And this thread went on, and I was like challenging him and kept pushing him. Come on, and he's making excuses. In the end, I cornered him, and he agreed to meet me in Watford at this location in Watford.
I think that they were there observing, pretending, be that stick.
Otherwise, he would have gloated. No, I don't think so. Otherwise, he would have probably taken photographs and said, "Oh, there's Ben. He's got a plastic sword and a cricket helmet on, or something."
The guard for
had a box on as well. Because I just thought, what if he does turn up? And also, I quite like the cricket angle because there's a sense of fair play and things like that. And the plastic sword is kind of symbolic of it was only a plastic one. It was a toy sword. It's symbolic of conflict, about dealing with conflict on a spiritual level. The sword is often symbolic.
It's like a tarot card you're taking around with you, isn't it?
It's kind of It's a masculine symbol of chivalry and things like that, and the rightful use of force and things like that. And I thought I'd take the plastic sword with me in my bag, and then of course he never turned up. And then I made it a massive he was all those years they were mouthing off me online, and they didn't show up to. When it came to a real life confrontation, they shrink like everyone else. That's typical of trolls. You challenge any of your trolls to meet up, and they won't turn up. I don't have any yet. I don't have Jack.
We should do a troll conference.
Unfortunately, it's simple, but it's difficult. But
well, no one will turn up. That's the problem.
Yeah.
But that's it. But it's guys who's walking there.
It's not a man. They will just say,
Davy Jones.
Why won't you stand? The Davy Jones stand in front of me and say, "Why don't you stand in front of me and say these things to my face?" I mean, I always say to them, I make no secret of where I'm going to be in the future.
Maybe there's no.
You could record this if you like. You can put this in if you want. Yeah.
Maybe they only enjoy doing it online, and if they maybe if they met you in real life, not only would they not have a problem with you, but there'd be no fun. It's like, oh, well, hold on here. This isn't the situation that I enjoy. I enjoyed being slagging something or whatever in there.
They certainly wouldn't have the guts to look me in the eye, stand in front of me, and say the things they said to me online, the horrible things they've said to me online. Things I had to call the police at one point because they were literally accusing me. They were literally, they were criminal defamation at some point. Saying I was neglecting my daughter and stuff like this. Horrible things they said about me. And I was like, they just don't. But I did say to them, you know where I'm going to be. I don't make secrets about my movements. I don't have bodyguards. I'm not Stephen Greer. I don't have these ego guards he has. I will. I say I'm going to be at the Pro conference on this date, or I tell people I'm going to be at this. I'm going to be at Lapis, or I'm going to go to this conference. I'm going to go to the Wake and Aware conference. If anyone wants to join you, I'll see you there. And I said, you could come and say these things to me in the face any time at any of these events.
So if they wanted a punch up by now, they'd plenty of.
Yeah, but they don't. And even Sue, they still do it. And
maybe they're like teammates.
Some of them are. I mean, I know that even after Watford, Droik has been Droik was the one who he did this offence archaeology thing on there with Peter Robbins.
He teamed up with Peter Robbins.
Well, he contacted. Peter said, "I've been contacted by this man called Bob Brown." I know that's one of his aliases, right? And he showed me.
He's know what that was an alias.
Well, only when he read my article and sort of my read.
He fell for this.
Yeah. Well, it's what they made Peter aware of something true, but it was like offence archaeology. They pointed to a rather unwise post that I put in when was it? Right in 2008 on the Dowsob forum. But literally 2008. We're talking like, and this happened over 10 years. Well over 10 years after this happened, and it was like where I'd watched this thing called the Holocaust, which was crushing, right? The extermination of the Jews by the Nazis, and I'd just spoken about it. I hadn't said I didn't say I endorsed these ideas. I just spoken about it, and this was like, and he said, look, Ben wrote this in 2008.
Regardless of what you say about that subject, they will use it again.
Yeah, and that's the only time I've ever mentioned it, and I don't believe that. I mean, obviously it needs to be investigated, but I mean the political situation is so intense. You can't actually, and people can go to jail if people speak. But the Peters, he shared this with Peter and said, look, you think Ben doesn't hate Jews? Here's the proof. He put this one post on the damn Sob forum in 2008.
Peter is a Jewish guy.
Yeah. And I've never attacked him on that reason. I don't care if he's Jewish or not. I don't give a damn. But he'd done this. This is called offense archaeology, where they dig up things from your past which no one would even know about otherwise.
Find an offense.
Yeah. To find these things.
I don't think anyone really has a problem with Jews. One of my best friends is Jewish up there, 25 years. That's not Peter Robin during. He's probably that he's a compass. Oh yeah.
He's a silly compass idiot, and I think his loyalties are questionable. Yeah, I don't care what he is. I mean, and he's betrayed Larry. He betrayed Larry Warren, and when Peter turned against him, Larry was gutted. I mean, Larry has a lot of bravado. He acts the tough guy, but he went out into Liverpool and he got drunk and he got in trouble and he was devastated.
What did Larry Warren think about Richard B. Vaughan's episode? What the Peter Hyatt statement analysis?
I can't remember. I imagine Larry had a very low opinion of it, and indeed I did as well. I thought it's like Richard. You see, a lot of backstabbers do this, because they turn against everyone in the community and they say, "Well, I'll solve this." Richard was literally saying, "I'm gonna solve this once and for all." Treats.
Actually, I'm alright, Neil, because I'm going to head up the water next.
Okay.
Because I'm off the beard. So don't feel you have to get
A glass of the House Red, please, mate. House Red. Yeah.
We've managed to get back on track with the word. We did defame Peter Robbins.
But yeah, well, actually, Peter Robbins. I'll ask Neil to edit out the bit about the offence archaeology, but I will. But yeah, apart from that, I will.
I think offence archaeology is worth bringing up.
I may not bring us still recording. Yeah, I may not mention the subject matter simply because some people can go to jail.
Right.
But I mean, I don't.
Honestly, in these times.
Yeah. I mean, not in this country, but in other countries, they could literally go to jail just for listening to that.
Right. Okay.
It's illegal to question the Holocaust.
We are in a country now where you can be jailed.
Yeah.
Saying.
Pretty soon in this country, it's going to be exactly the same. Yeah. I mean, we know people have gone to jail simply for expression of opinions. We know that they were looking for excuses. Yeah, they were looking for excuses to put people in jail. That you make some offhand comment that is unwise, and they're
of letting everything know their place.
Exactly, and the police will then will arrest you just because it's almost like an excuse. They know it's not a serious thing. Like the lady who said, "Oh, I hope those hotels burn down." She didn't say burn the hotels down. She just said, I wouldn't care if they did get burned down. Now, that was interpreted as a threat. And Lucy Conway, her name is. She's still in jail now. Well, I didn't know that. She got like 18 months in jail.
They assume she's saying that she wants to hotel here down in Iverson.
This is despite the fact she deleted the tweet like an hour later. Yeah. She went out for a walk the dog, came back, thought better of it and deleted it. By then someone had seen it and reported it. I think the fact that she's the one from a conservative councillor doesn't help. But Lily Anders, she's of course a white woman, which of course is again lower tier,
Yeah, if you're white, you're definitely not allowed to say these things. We already know they've already said that the court process moving forward in England is going to be 2-tier.
Oh yeah,
If you're a minority, you get treated different from a white person because they have the current status that this is.
Well, that's apartheid. They call it apartheid. I mean, it's true that they backtracked on it, but let's face it. I mean, the courts have actually been doing this anyway for several years now.
The stats are still in the favour of whites. We still commit the less spines.
Well, see, I mean, this is exactly, but this is not to denigrate any individual. But the fact is that certain racial groups do tendency to different kinds of behaviour.
This sounds like one of those 1970s discussions from South Africa.
Yeah, but that's not what we're talking about. Yeah.
But that's not it's not racist thing to say that.
No, it is statistical, and just the immigrants that are running this country are doing a lot of things. These are just undeniable facts, and if that's the case, then I believe every individual. I give every individual a chance. Fancy to certain demographics have strengths or weaknesses and have a tendency to certain community. Certain different values.
The good life philosophy that Mickey are being shipped here.
It doesn't mean that white people are supreme. No, it doesn't that. It just means that we're different and that and we need. This is why we live in different countries. This is because when we live in different countries, we can live in our own societies in our own way, which is exactly why the government are filling countries with foreigners. It's actually not. They're not just letting it happen. It's not like people have this idea that all the active role has been played by the immigrants, and they come up there. I made this point last night. You know, they're so all big couple basis. This hungry with them piety. No, we'd like to do something like it, but then make it. It's a deliberate geopolitical strategy.
Yeah.
And
Richie Allen was talking about this, the migrant industrial complex.
Good name.
Talking about how many wealthy people in this country right now have realised that they can buy hotels and they can sign up for a 5-10 year lease with the government to house these people.
And the government are giving them a fortune. See, the idea that the government is letting it happen is nonsense. This is being organised at the highest level. This is the industrialised movement of people.
Let me tell you something. I was in Pisa last week. Pisa is flooded with migrants from India and Africa. I went to Livorno, because we're primarily nearby, and there is a derelict zoo which we go to for roller skating. It has a nice little car for the flat area. It was absolutely flooded with Indian-speaking Indian people. Now, does that mean that Indian people live there, but not in these numbers?
Not millions and millions of them.
There were no white visitors. And what is that? Oh, so they had to move these people here. They could not speak Italian. They could not speak English. They were playing their own music and sound systems and their own games. He felt something is not right.
Oh, cheers, Neil. It's a large one. Oh, thank you very much. It's all right. Okay. Hey, mate. When she said large as small, I have no idea what they're talking. Thank you very much. Cheers. What's your stick? Yeah, I'm feeling right up to that, to be honest. Thank you. That's all right. Thank you very much, Neil. But yeah, it's But you're right. It's I mean, this process has to be reversed. There has to be mass deportations, and I mean the leftists will portray it as like, oh, round them up, cut them on cattle trucks at gunpoint. No, it can be done ethically. It can be done peacefully and ethically. It can be done without harming any of these individuals. I would oppose any retaliatory attacks. Well, I believe it. They simply have to be removed and repatriated to their own nations, the nations of origin, which can be done. And as soon as there's a political will to do it, it will be done. I don't think Nigel Farage is going to do it. I don't trust him. I don't think I don't think it's going to happen. If it doesn't, then I mean, that's what my concern is.
Yeah.
If it doesn't, then you got him in the country. Difficult will get him out, isn't it?
Yeah, I was just saying to Ben.
Lose this bike, by the way.
I was just saying to Ben that I went to Pisa last weekend because they had like a 4-day weekend, so stay with Sarah.
I've been there before because you talked to us about it.
Yeah, I think I've been a few times now. I'll show you some pictures. I'll find out. But there's in Livorno is a town next to Pisa because they're all seaside towns, right? And there's an old disused zoo, which has a really good roller skating area because I'm into skating.
Yeah.
So I keep my skates out there. So I'm going to go skating. And Livorno and Pisa are now flooded with migrants. And you've got the African migrants on the streets, hundreds of them. You've got lots of rich Arab people, but a lot of them. You've got a large number of Arab and Turkish takeaways open where there were none. So that's great because they needed those. Then you've got a lot of people and some of them look really poor. Some of them look like they've got a lot of money, but there are loads of them. And I mean, you're looking around, you're thinking, what was going on? When we went to the zoo area with the park, we were the only white people. There was a group of about 50 Indian kids. I guess they were Hindus because they were playing Hindu style music on the sound system. They were playing cricket. And then there was a group of at least sort of 15 Muslims, families, children, with the women are wearing their hijabs and stuff. and I heard them speaking English and whatever language it is they spoke.
Yeah.
And there was one little white boy on a scooter with his dad. Other than that, I remember an old Italian man was just sitting watching with his hat on. I don't remember any other white people.
Crikey. And this is Pisa, the tourist area where you should expect local vendors doing their stuff.
Yeah, and Lavore. Yeah, like that on right on the sea. You've got Pisa and then all the little seaside towns right there. It's mad. And so, when you're having lunch or anything along there, the Africans come up to you and they're selling Sanchises. Yeah, all the same stuff they do here. And because they all speak English and they say, oh no, I live here, I live in Quattadera, I live in Colla Salvetti or wherever, you know. And you know what, Ben, I'm going to be a real pain in the arse. I'm going to go.
Oh, I know, Russia.
Right, I'll be back.
Okay.
I need my glasses there. And we'll do some more in a minute. Yeah, I'll finish out some measures. I'll do that.
Sure.
And then, but one more, maybe one more.
Oh, good, I think we'll leave them. Put it up there, all over.
Same thing.
It's like when you go upstairs, like you're in a corridor of the Titanic, is it?
See, it is very shaped like that. It's very old. It's very sort of that old road.
Yeah.
Oh, cheers, Neil. Thanks very much.
It's not your house wine. They run out of that, so it's something else.
No, it's all right.
I don't let go. They point me way back in. I'll just have whatever other red they got. I know nothing about wines apart from red and white, and that's all I know. You know.
We'll stand up and we'll be back in a minute. All right. But then, get us off on more wound stuff.
Sure. I'll just press some. I'll put it on pause for a second.
Now, there's a little town here called Cecina, right? And a lot of tourists go there. It's just a little seaside strip. And last year in the summer, I was there, and we could only go out at night because it was so hot.
Yeah.
And so it was pitch black, and we were walking down the main boulevard of all the tourists, and we got to the end, somewhere down there, and we looked up in the sky, and this huge white flash went like that, with like a real messy white lot, and it wasn't that pipe in the sky, and it basically went into nothing, but to blackness. And she said to me, "Whoa, what was that?" And I said, "I did not know, but that did not look normal."
That's strange.
Yeah.
What caused that?
I have no idea.
Well, a white flash so quickly and then disappearance. The meteorite
Wasn't that quick. It was kind of like that.
meteorite, maybe.
Was it? There was no thunder or anything.
No, it was so like that, and it looked like it was just above us.
Well, we'll have a wonderful day.
I was listening to Rich Planet last night because they sent out a new episode. He sent it out.
Yeah, I mean, I've just downloaded. I didn't have time to watch it.
Was it good?
Well, what it was, I woke up about 4 o'clock in the morning, kneed in the road, came back, and I thought, what's the time? Oh, it's 4 o'clock. I'll just check email just because I can't sleep.
Yeah.
And he sends out a Rich Planet episode like 3 o'clock in the morning. So we're thinking, my God, you know, how's that work? So I thought, oh, well, I'll mark that email to check it out maybe over the weekend. But my mind was inactive, so I couldn't sleep. So I thought, oh, so then I'll listen to this Rich. I won't watch it, I'll just listen to it. And I fell asleep listening to it, which is great. But it was old footage of Emlyn-Jones here about 10 years ago, and they're talking about free energy devices. And he says now, in this new program, that he's going to concentrate Rich Planet episodes mostly on free energy development.
I noticed he's called it Rich Planet Power. He's given like names of a series.
And I was wondering about this, thinking, is this because pressure's been put on him from somewhere?
I read.
So he's picking a safe.
Yeah, sure. The thing is, if he starts talking about false flag terror, you know, I mean, I think I wouldn't criticise Richard because he's done more than most people do to stand up to these fans.
He's put his life on that.
He has. So many people just cave in, like Alex Jones did. You know, they just cave in and they start like apologising and taking the knee. And Richard didn't do that.
Yeah.
But you know, obviously he's now under a court order. He had to remove like about 50 of his videos, and if he refused, he'd have been immediately arrested for contempt of court.
Right.
This means he would face a criminal charge and you go to jail. And so now he has to be very careful what he talks about and uploads because of this damn court order.
We have to totally someone spoken to him now and said he has
probably been advised by a lawyer as well.
Yes, he does. He's Paul. His name is
The guy that represented him.
Yeah, Paul Oakley. He's a really cool guy. He used to like he was in UKIP and he like wrote for the Light and stuff like that. Yeah.
Right.
He's a good guy, really good guy.
Is he the guy that Richard did an interview with recently? Very posh kind of sounding.
I don't know. Yeah, he's very posh. He's a barrister. I mean,
Right.
I don't know you up strictly, but I met him and he's a really good guy. He's a really nice chap. Obviously, he's not just. I mean, barristers can, like, when I first saw him talking, I thought, barristers will do their job, which is to act like they really support somebody, even if they don't. And their job is to be, it's called acting for a reason. But after I spoke to him in the pub afterwards, it's very obvious he really does believe in what Richard's doing, and he believes in his cause. And funny enough, the prosecution barrister was crap. He was awful.
Yeah.
He was like the guy who was for the Hibbets, acting for the Hibbets.
Yes.
He was bloody useless.
The Hibbets for the people that didn't know they're being harassed.
Yeah. The guy who was acting for the complainants,
He couldn't give an example of being harassed.
No, there was
They had to be pointed out.
they took him to pieces. I mean, he took the witness to pieces. I mean, if there's any justice in the world, the judge would have dismissed the case. But I listened to this barrister droning on like about how Richard Richard had done this and that. He didn't do any health and safety assessments and things like that. And I thought, thank God this guy's not on Richard's side, because he was crap.
Jesus.
He was crap.
Health and
So yeah, the Hibbets got the lawyer they deserved.
Yeah.
And of course, it was all a foregone conclusion, unfortunately. I mean, I knew the judge was like, her name's Karen Steen,
Right.
and she's like another one called Lord Malcolm Steen or something like that. With and he's like in the House of Lords or something. And she's a complete. I mean, her track record is total establishment file. And I thought that there's no way she's gonna rule against the
That would have been decided beforehand.
Yeah, he was decided before.
Like the Helen Snowden
It
trial.
was decided, the BBC and people and someone in government got together, and someone in the Supreme Court got together and thought, we got to just shit this guy out. And that's the whole thing was decided then. And everyone knows it. And we went along to support Richard. Richard, he's not someone I get on with. I don't particularly like the man, but he didn't deserve this, and he really, really was. What was done to him was done to us here. And it was horrific what they did to him.
When he started getting, when the news first broke of the court case and the BBC had his YouTube channel, I received a mysterious email telling me, "Hello, I'm a musician. I've noticed that Richard E. Wood's using your music. I bet he's not paying royalties. You should contact PRS." And I thought, let me think. As a music producer myself, do I have time to research what music is being used?
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, thanks very much. Thank you. Do you know it's really weird because Jackie probably told you this. Well, she got a follow. Marianne Spring started following her on Twitter.
That's who emailed me and related, I think. It's Mariella Spring.
Yeah,
And
do you know what? The same. Just asked that she blocked me. And it's really weird because I've only interacted with her a couple of times, and I left a comment. It wasn't even rude. It was slightly sarcastic, and she blocked me. So this
what in the email, what they said was they wanted me to contact the Performing Rights Society and complain about Richard and demand money.
It's the equivalent of a fence line killer,
Yeah. Whereas don't even deal with YouTube reviews, anything they didn't deal with broadcast and mechanical. So
feel free to, Neil, this is something everyone knows anyway, so feel free to use the recording on this. Sure. Everyone knows this already because I've said it.
to Richard recently, and he said that he is planning on some new feature documentaries over the next couple of years, and he's been using World Music, and I've given him the catalog for my label. Because,
So, was it you that did the theme tune to Rich Black?
no, who did that?
That was a guy called DJ Radji.
If I'd done that, I would send myself back to music production school.
That was a guy called DJ Radji.
Right.
Yeah, it's fun though. It's fun, but it is Sanato.
So, what music was yours using?
In the past, I've just given in selected releases on in all of my labels, each shows in Wood Sponson. In the past, there's a drum and bass track that he likes to use for every single time. It's just got a sample of the scale stick every single time, and he says that's a mantra for him because they're doing things again and again that we know they're going to be every single time. That's how he explained it to me. There's another track that I did with a girl called Lip Panda, who's a singer in Arizona, and that was like a favorite kind of fire. and there is no significance as to why he uses it. He just likes
That was in the Manchester one, Manchester Arena one, yeah.
He just said he likes that one, so he uses that bar.
It's a good tune. I like that tune. And I think already, I did wonder where it came from. A lot of people are asking where that came from, and a lot of his music's good. It's like the one he uses, his first sort of upbeat tune he used for the Almost Identified one. That was very good.
They're strange though. The seats that went on there, Elise, the girl who sang on that track, she got a stalker, and she's since had to withdraw from online live public, and that coincided with me getting that.
That can't be coincidence. I mean, it looks like the establishment is like they're trying to attack Richard in any way they can. So as I said in my article, they get litigious paramilitaries to do it for them rather than passing laws.
So this is they wanted you to sue him. This is a promo graphic of me and Elise from one of the latest tracks. That's like the YouTube background. So that's her. And she's had to disappear because she's had this stalker, and this guy is after her, and she's in Arizona in Sedona, and that all started when the Witch Planet stuff started.
I wonder if this guy had a word with this guy and told him to do that. I do wonder.
You think so?
Wouldn't surprise me. I mean, this seems like obviously there's a very highly organised, very high-level attack against Richard, and
because our names are on there. I mean, if you go on the Internet Movie Database, you see our names attached to Witch Planet.
Yes. I mean, I'm in the photo with Richard, and it's been in the news with my shirt hanging out. It's really annoying. I didn't tap my shirt in. Yeah, but I'm expecting a bloody call for these people anytime now.
You haven't had any hassle yet, though?
Not yet.
To your knowledge, anyway.
No, but they could be building up like info liners.
Johnson's had stuff because he's also literally dictator. So I wouldn't surprise.
I'd be horrified if someone had a go at him just for like expressing opinions. I think I could do it. Yeah, but I do expect people. I mean, Mariner Spring obviously knows who I am, and I do wonder, like, because Neil Sanders changed his tune, didn't he? I mean, he was on a bloody Channel BMC's Channel 4. Yeah, it was. She did this article when he was in for that BBC website. Then she did that stupid Radio 4 series, Disaster Trolls.
Yeah.
And then she did that episode of Paranormal, which is like, it goes into less detail. It's shorter, but it goes into less detail. Neil was complaining about how that he thought that was it didn't like really represent his views. So I said, I didn't say anything to him, but I just thought to myself, Neil, you're not that naive. You choose to do an interview with the BBC. What do you bloody expect?
Yeah.
And since then, Neil has just like gone a 180. He's turned coat. He's stabbing Richard in the back. He's attacking everyone who defends Richard. And he's
done that to be on the safe side so that he can participate and pretend that he's changed his mind at all and end the fight.
And he did a review of my reportage on the whole thing, because I did an entire portal on this, and he was saying things silly. He was saying that I was being silly and I was being immature, and horrible things he said about me. I mean, Brent Lee, I feel a bit of sympathy for Brent, because Brent, I mean, you've only got to talk to Brent, and you can see that he's clearly traumatized.
Yeah.
I mean, you only got to talk to him, listen to him. He's really, really hurt.
Oh, is that sir?
Brent Lee, who does this show with Neil.
Okay.
But Neil is, I feel much less charitable towards Neil, because Neil is,
I really enjoyed his early Richmond episode.
Yeah, but Neil's book, Neil's book, The Fortune on Your Own, is so good.
Yes, it is brilliant.
It's sad actually to see someone like him, like do a backflip.
Yeah. Change the subject slightly, Gary. You mentioned on Ben's live stream last night that you saw a Virgin Mary on the place.
Yes.
Talk about that. That's interesting.
So it was back in the days where I was commuting back and forth to New Mexico. Yeah, I would fly into Del Rio, Texas, so that I could just drive across the border 5 blocks down the road. And I was sitting on one of those small propeller planes that United Airlines used to use.
Yeah.
And I was just looking into the aisle. There's only about 10 seats. And I saw that outline, the people draw of the clothing that she wears and the glow around her.
Yeah.
Just sort of stand behind that with her arms together, looking slightly downwards. And it just kind of appeared up like that.
In the aeroplane?
Yeah, inside the aisle. And, well, I can say it was in my mind. I don't know for sure it was actually there. I can see it clearly for at least 3 and 5 seconds before it faded out. It was slight colour to it, of bluesy greens, and very translucent. But of course, you know, I've had quite a few weird experiences in Mexico. The weirdest thing that ever happened to me, of course, which I had spoke about previously on the Paranormal Peep Show, is when I used to sit on the flat roof of my house in the evenings in Mexico at the end of the day and look at the stars. One evening I jumped down, and as I looked up, a flock of about 6 or 7 birds made of light flew over me.
Oh, you told me about this?
This was mind-blowing. I do not know what to make of it to this day. Every person I told it to, even on that day, had no reaction. And I was desperate to kind of talk to someone about it, because what could this be? It was a flock of birds, and they were made of light. They were moving, the light was moving inside them, almost like it was CGI, but there are Acuna is a very poor place, right? There is no one with a hologram machine in Acuna.
I mean, telling me there are people living under bridges and things.
It's Cambodia, there's the Wild West. And I saw these things fly off into the distance. So what generated those? There is no technology.
Were they in a kind of classic V formation shape, like
very slight? Yeah, I can see it so vivid.
And I wonder, like, what time of year would it be for, like, would it be a time of year for birds migrate south or west or wherever they go? Eh?
You know what? I should have written down the date, but I didn't.
Because that might have helped, you know. It could be that someone says, oh yeah, you get a certain bird that catches the light, and because they got translucent feathers or something, which come off in the season, you know, this is...
Well, it was dark.
Dark.
It was dark.
Right.
And they were on fire. There was no chance that I could have mistaken a real bird for something. These were birds made of fire and light.
Wow.
And they were orange. I go like that.
Yeah. Yeah, fire blue.
Like that. And I'm obviously, to the tape, I'm pointing to a sunset on a book that you was giving me. Yeah.
Oh my God.
And I could see the texture of the light within them moving, as well as the limbs of the birds moving.
Did you get kind of excellent height there, Balance?
Yeah.
You're on a roof, of course. So.
Yeah, and there were trees at the end of my garden, which I'm still there now. And let's say that my roof was about that height.
Yeah.
I will climb down for the window grids. They were like twice this.
So say that's about 10 feet, maybe?
Yeah, they were no more than double that.
20 feet.
So they were low.
So
low.
Could you feel any kind of air from your...
Nothing.
No sound?
No sound, nothing. It happened to be, it was quite a quiet moment and quite a quiet part of the day, because that was a noisy part of town. I'm not saying I went into the Oz factor, it just happened to be a quiet few minutes. And it was at least, I guess it was five seconds I watched them before they were through the trees and onwards.
So did you no neighbours you could speak to that might have been about?
No, at that time, I didn't know the neighbours who were surrounding, and many of the properties are locked, and you keep yourself to themselves. They have high walls. You can't communicate with them the way you might with your neighbours of the UK.
Yeah.
And so I have no explanation for it. As for migrating birds, when you see migrating birds in that part of the world, you see them up very, very high, flying in a V formation.
Yes.
And people often confuse them for UFOs. Is the sunshine, and they can be reflective. Yeah.
Some would say after all Lovat lights was, but some right. This is where they will.
What do you think? Have you heard anything?
It's sort of thing I've heard. It rings a bell. I mean, of course, Gary's told me about this before privately.
Yeah.
And I remember telling me about being very impressed by this. Now, this is the first I've heard about the strange apparition on the plane. But yeah, strange experiences on aircraft are not unusual. So seeing something in the air is interesting. I mean, I'm going to do a long plane flight in a couple of weeks, and I'm curious to see if I see anything strange. But the obvious one is, I'm telling you right now, that motherfucker back there is not real. The crazy plane lady is here. This has been put down all kinds of things, but the way she worded it and the way she spoke, this was a plane that was not flying, it was on the ground, it hadn't taken off yet. That's how they could go back to the terminal and ship the old bag off,
I've seen the video of her being kicked out by the coppers.
Yeah, and the flight was late 3 hours. I'm sure that made her popular. But there's all kinds of examples of people seeing strange things on plane. Now, this was very common in the early days of aviation. It was the gremlins, which of course is the feature in the Twilight Zone episode.
You heard the real story of the gremlins on the Mexican Airlines flight?
Well, where they were flying on the outside of the plane.
Dick Preston Dennett did a video recently.
The stewardess, her name was, of course, her name, Tullo, Audrey Tullo, somebody Tullo. She actually reported it to the Spanish, this Mexican researcher, then reported to other people. He wrote it in his book that, I mean, she was split, but many was true. What's more pilots in that company, and they backed her up.
There were multiple stewards on the plane that saw these things.
So I saw the passengers. There were no passengers, but it was like a coal flight. There's no passengers, but all the crew were on there. The cabin crew saying, or pilots, they all saw it. But there's other examples. I mean, a classic one is Vincent Price.
Oh yes.
Yes. Well known, is quite appropriate actually. He's well known for his horror movies.
That's right, good old bit.
And in 1959, he was on a flight, and he was just looking out the window as you do, and looking at the clouds passing, and he suddenly saw there was some words written on the side of a cloud, like a neon sign. It was just attached to the cloud, and he looks and he thought it's odd. And he looks again, and it's still there, and if these words just said the words Tyrone Power is dead.
Yeah.
And he thought, what? Tyrone Power's a fellow actor, who was someone he knew, a friend of his. And in those days, there were no seatback phones, there was no TV screens that you could get information from, no internet or nothing. Yeah. And so there's no way, if Tyrone Power had died, he wouldn't have known, because he was in the air. When he landed, he actually did ask someone, is Tyrone Power all right? And they said, Mr. Price, you wouldn't have known, but he died a couple of hours ago now. And this is something, I mean, obviously this may have inspired him, because he was very into this. So he was, as an actor, he liked doing these horror roles and these supernatural roles. They may experience like that might have inspired him, you know. Again, I don't know if, you see the thing about the gremlin phenomenon. I mean, as you know, there's a famous Twilight Zone episode with William Shatner, Captain Kirk, where he's on a plane. He's a recovering psychiatric patient, and he keeps seeing this gremlin crawling on the wings. He's sabotaging the engines, and he keeps telling people no one believes him. Eventually, he's like, you know, the cabin crew basically suppress, you know, shackle him to the seat. And when he gets off the plane, you see the damage done to the air engines, and you realise he was right. At the very last shot of that particular thing. Now, there's also a short story by Arthur Conan Doyle, a Sherlock Holmes author, who's a woo-woo like us. I can't remember the title, but it's about a pirate who flies up in his plane and he starts seeing these strange cloud figures. This inspired Roald Dahl, because Roald Dahl in the James and the Giant Peach is the Cloud Men, you know. Right. And now, the skeptic's explanation is very simple: altitude sickness. And it's true.
That's what they would say for my...
Yeah.
Well, no, you see, because, well,
I have...
No, because it's not, because, you see, aircraft came along with pressurized cabins. And when that happened, the gremlin sightings vastly declined. And so, yeah, you could explain a hypoxic brain or have hallucinations. However, you were on a pressurized aircraft with a pressurized cabin. It's a modern plane.
So it was a 1 hour flight.
Yeah. As also was the crazy plane lady, Tiffany Gomez. Yeah. As was Ellis Taylor, my friend Ellis Taylor, who's seen weird things on planes. Yeah. It could be that when you're above a certain altitude, and you're above a certain... Because when you get up to a cruising altitude, 35,000 feet, 29 to 39,000 feet, 90% of the Earth's atmosphere is below you. Yes. Because it's very cold. You can't breathe unless the cabin's pressurized. Yeah. Because the only reason you can breathe is because you're inside a pressurized cabin of an aircraft. You simply... But it could be the other world. You're in an area where humans are not meant to be. And it could be there are other intelligences that rule that realm. Because you're halfway between the ground and space.
That's what your friend Nick... who's the guy Nick? Kind of spoke about the... Nick Hayes.
Hayes.
Invisible, those invisible.
Yeah. He's been studying the creatures that live in the air, in the sky. Some of them are invisible. And also, that's where maybe UFOs are of presence. And indeed, it's kind of like another world. And indeed, there's a claim the radiation level is higher from the sun and cosmic rays. Yeah. And indeed, stewardesses who are pregnant are told, like, you can't... They have to take maternity leave very early in the first trimester because they're at that altitude. The radiation can damage the developing embryo. Yeah. Because people who fly regularly, you know,
they could suffer from radiation effects and put like pilots and cabin crew.
Yeah, they do say to pilots that I can't remember what the rules are now, but it's like they will only do so many flights per year or something because they are up above. They get 5 or 6 times more radiation than the average person on the street.
It's surprising how many pilots are woo-woos.
Yeah.
Bruce Cathay is a good example. He's a New Zealander airline pilot who actually saw many UFOs and came up with he also made a note of where he saw them. And he came out with a fascinating idea about where they appear in terms of ley lines and things like this.
Interesting. Well, Monica's doing chap. Yeah, Monica's family comes from Belgium, and we only found this out last year, having a chat with some fellow family members, that one of the people. Oh my God! One of the people.
Good selection there, Monica.
It's a green rat, isn't it?
Yeah, that's
Incredible Hulk rat. I thought.
It's got a tail.
It's weird. But
what is that?
what is it?
I don't know. That's a photograph.
Oh, I could say yeah.
And it's my sister.
Please do. Yeah.
So she tell me what it is.
So basically, yeah, an airline pilot in Monica's side of the family, based in Belgium, they're currently having interest in UFOs because they were seeing them all the time.
Wow.
We never met
The
them.
British down at flap, didn't they?
Yeah. So it's a Belgian hot topic of UFO activity here. So he was seeing these UFOs, which just the name of the yard is Uncle, or whatever it was. There's a fire there. Uncle John. But you fell. Yeah. And he was going to be seeing the UFOs. He had an interest in you, I believe.
I don't think he had an interest. I think he's
The name's saying
He said he saw me later.
loads of you. Yeah. But they don't report. But there was a guy that was flying to Albany, like Albany Airlines or something.
Ray Boyer.
Yeah. And he saw them, but all the passengers saw these. Was it 2 UFOs?
So there were 2. I think it was. I can't remember how many, but he described them as being very large. He said they were cigar-shaped objects, yellow with black stripes or something. And he said, but because he said he could judge very carefully because of the he knew where basically the background clouds and things were. He knew how roughly its range, therefore he could work out its size. And he said it was really big, thousands of feet across. Bearing in mind the largest Star aircraft ever built is the Hindenburg airship. That was 805 feet long, which blew up very famously in New Jersey in 1907. Yeah, but that was they never. After that happened, no one ever built an airship that big again. So what is it then? What was he seeing?
Yeah.
I was telling Ben earlier, and you probably can't use this bit unfortunately, but my younger brother is a pilot in the RAF, and he works on the Royal Flight, so he flies the King most days and the Prime Minister, and has an air of superiority to go with it. But he's interested in UFOs, but he's always watching UFO TV shows. But he will never tell me. And when all the stuff was happening with the drones aside, he just wouldn't say that it's. I kind of tried to chat with him about it.
Maybe he's worried that he'll word and get out and can't speak. He will say.
The only thing he told me, which I think I told you guys are there.
He knows where they are.
Yeah. No, this is another. He was telling me that they keep seeing drones up out at what do they call it, cruising altitude,
35,000 feet.
Yeah. And these are commercial drones with like decals or something, they're flashes and stuff. So somebody is flying what we consider to be drones, like Barhead, but they have versions that they can fly up under that height.
Well, it's the
hell is going?
Yeah. Well, this is like my interview with Todd Curtis, which I did on the show before last. If people are doing that, then obviously that's a hazard. That's a hazard to air traffic. You could have a collision which could result in deaths.
Yeah.
Sorry. That's all right. I was going to say that if anyone who denies that there's a UFO problem, there's some explaining to do, because clearly there is. And I mean, anyone who's honest and investigates, like Todd has set up an entire, he calls it the air detectives. He's a pilot and his friends are pilots, and they're concerned about their safety of themselves and their passengers. Yeah, and is that scene in Close Encounters? I think it's the second or third scene in the film where they're in the air traffic control room. That's right. Yeah, and the object appears, and then they can see it on prime and radar. The pilots are saying they can see it. At the end, they say, "Do you want to report a UFO?" And the pilots all say no.
Because they're scared of getting in a treadle.
Sorry, Garen, you were going to say.
We're going to say, yeah, you reminded me of the story when my brother told me we know what they are, we don't know. No, we don't know what they are, we know where to go to see them. So when I lived with my grandmother in Hemel Hempstead, we had the classic 3-story houses of Berkshire.
A Warminster. Hemel Hempstead. Oh, right, sorry, it's a Warminster. No, a big UFO, yeah.
Thing, yeah. So one evening in the summer, I look out the window, I'm on the phone, and I see some floating towards the house. And this is the story I told a Paranormal Peep Show. And it was like a carbon fiber ball about this big, floating over the top of the house. And so I called my grandmother to have a look. By the time she got up the stairs, it was over the other side of the house. We had to run to the other window. And we watched this thing, and it looked like it was spinning like that, just going in a straight line across the countryside to Luton Airport, Berkshire.
Yeah.
So my brother did say to me, yeah, we know about it. So he said that, he had a girlfriend at the time called Kirsty. He said, we know where to go to see them. He said, I've been taken with Kirsty there. And he said, but we don't know what they are.
No.
And this is the weird kism. And the same flight where I saw the Virgin Mary, not on the same exact flight, but on that route and the same plane.
Yeah.
I once looked out the window after seeing that thing with my grandmother in England and saw one of those things out of the window of the plane to the left side in between Fustaf and Del Rio, Texas. So what the hell is that?
What height was you roughly at that point, do you think?
Well, I guess that would be, how high do you think the plane would go if it's a 1-hour flight in the
Cruising 35,000 feet normally.
And there's lower altitude.
Well, there's 20,000 if it's prop drilling.
We were above the weather because it was a short plane, and
So it's more like 20,000 feet, I would say, because there's got to be oxygen for the plane to provide thrust to the engine or something. I don't know.
Quite some time before the plane overtook it.
Yeah.
And or maybe it went of its own. Yeah.
Wow.
And it looked to be the same texture, colour and size as what I've seen with my brain.
Ronnie and Philip Kinsella saw a sphere with their grandmother, and it came down into the back garden. And they said, Grandma, what's that? And she didn't obviously know what to say. So she said something like, oh, the fairies had just come up to check, see if you're okay.
Ronnie was telling us about that when last Christmas.
Yes, that's right. And then it flew up over the roof of the house, I see. That was an aptitude.
In the sphere, that's just a fish. I was thinking about that. I mentioned this on the live stream last night. That's right.
A couple of months ago, there was some people who saw a metallic spherical object flying over the town of Booga in Colombia. It was filmed going through there, and then suddenly they filmed coming down the ground, and then the next shot is them seeing this thing lying in these bushes. And then that was the end of it. No one heard anything else. And now, in the last couple of days, so people have come forward saying, well, this is the actual sphere, and they show it. They're holding up this big metallic sphere, and it has these symbols on it and artwork. It even looks like some kind of text or something on it, like Klingon or something. And it's like, if even the Santa Claus has jumped on top of it, you can't keep him all.
I thought he was with the fairy that he discovered.
Yeah, Jaime is he's an absolute maniac. I mean, he's like me on steroids. Jaime is, he really is. But I mean, I suspect it's fake, but I might be wrong. I suspect it's fake. I expect they just created the sphere. They've done some artwork on it, and it looks like crop circle, the symbolism on the.
He's got some fantastic discovery almost weekly, hasn't he? Because he's got a weekly show.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, can't get English subtitles for it, but I do sort of know what he's talking about because I've watched other. I know about the cases he talks about because there's other videos out there.
Yeah.
As you know, the guy is just he really is like a complete obsessive. Yeah, really well. Yeah.
And he doesn't always looking for the next fantastic thing, and they don't have a quality control.
He doesn't filter, unfortunately, Heine. He doesn't. I mean, some of the cases he investigates really are significant, but others he just jumps on some bandwagons like there's ridiculous mummy thing.
Yeah,
that was obviously. I mean, Steve Mera did the field research into that, and which Heine didn't. He said, look, these are simply fake. They're just created our old.
They all died at death caused upon other ladies.
As much as we wanted it to.
Yeah. Well, I'd love to send them being real because it'd be great evidence. But
as soon as I saw them, they didn't look convincing. These alien mummies.
These are human animal scrambos from graves.
Yeah.
and someone decided to create these fake mummies that they then selling. They sell them for a huge amount, and there's an actually black market in fake antiquities.
Just press pause on this for a second. The habit of listening to it, being
he's banned from YouTube like so many people. I'm not. Suppose I get back one day. I've watched about a dozen videos, and they've just been taken. It's been removed with all this information of various kinds. The hate speech, so I have to wonder where's anything but YouTube and EV. Well, YouTube is just, unless they can, some Elon Musk takes them over. So they're just gonna, it's just gonna become a boring, mainstream social media. And as a result, if you're a businessman, you wouldn't want to do that because it's like, essentially it's a detriment to your own conspiracy.
Cat videos of mainstream news.
Yes. Makeup tutorials must be that, mainstream news and that stuff like that. And then all the interesting stuff will go elsewhere. Because if I was running YouTube, I'd say, why am I doing this? Why am I throwing away good business like this? Why am I ruining my own prosperity?
There is somebody further up the pyramid that chose.
Unless I'm actually obeying a higher authority that their instructions I value more than profit. It takes an awful lot for a successful businessman to value something more than profit. That's... The whole purpose of profit is you have to have profit to earn a living. You collapse without profit. Yeah, that's the whole purpose for the business is to earn profit. That's all.
Unless it's a charity.
So
charities don't earn profit.
Well, yeah, apparently, but a YouTube is not allowed. There's no charity, So I don't know. It's saying there's a Facebook. I think this is the Zuckerberg's actually backtracked a little bit lately. The sake of his poverty. Yeah, but I still have to use this silly relay whenever I put any of my things on Facebook because my pages are still banned, which is stupid.
So they don't like you listing your blogs or your videos or...
Apart from HBWA, all my others are banned.
That's weird.
And Hospital Paws with attitude. Yeah. Hospital Paws against the new Hospital Paws Welfare Association. Yeah, that's how. They've started scanning the actual articles for links, and so I have to add the links afterwards. Otherwise, I can't post them.
Sorry about the funeral over there. Chucking the gravel over the coffin, please.
Yeah. What do you want while you're having the potato chips, isn't it?
Yes. I just sometimes wonder, if I have someone's watching me, and it's in parallel, but my shadow banning is getting really intense. I was on my live stream last night. I had 19 viewers. News at one point. I had more people commenting than I had viewers.
No, it's just the same for Mark Oyersky. You've been very hunted to use this to under 100 for each video.
Can't be real.
They said the real subscriber base is quite large.
They are just they give me fake stats. A blogger does the same to me. All my actors have the same number of stats. It goes up to about 25 and it's any higher. It goes out one review per day after that. And even when I deliberately didn't share an article on social media to see what would happen.
Yeah.
The same thing happened.
Yeah.
Same number of people saw it. That doesn't make sense when I'm not sharing it.
Yeah.
Doesn't make sense at all.
You have the same number of people, don't you?
Yeah.
Same people.
That's not real. Those are not real stats. That's the thing. They're not real stats.
Yeah. So, your large T-shirt, Ben, was that made by you because you ate the lard at the conference? Or
Made by me. I won it.
You won the...
Yeah, okay. It was on the one occasion. I've done the lard eating competition now 5 times. So far, I've already got one challenger. There's another guy called Ben. He's won 4 times, including the most recent one.
Right.
I won 1 year.
Yeah.
The guy that won the rare book about cryptids in England a century gone by.
Richard Freeman also provided a real in the
book. It was insane. I had an online... I can't remember what the book is called, but it's a book about strange animals which were recorded in England throughout history, for which we have no record. And there were stories about some kind of lizard creature written about quite seriously that people would encounter in the woods in England. And I think it said that they would be safe if they were in a person carriage.
Wow.
You ever heard of them?
No.
And someone likened it to the thing in Star Wars, the things in the those lizard things that they drive around on in the desert with dewbacks or
blurred, but it's
I don't know. You've got kind of dinosaurs in your style, but I don't know.
yeah. But I mean, there are the things we talk about, the things you used to read about woo-woo encounters and stuff like that. They go back throughout history, and they've been seen by people. It seems to be something perennial, actually. Yeah, throughout history, you find reports of people encountering beings like this. They'll use different names depending on the culture. Like in the past, they didn't say aliens; they would say fairies or sprites or various things. If you listen to the description of them, they're pretty much the same. And the same as what people encounter now.
Just written from a different worldview, a different time. Mike, have you heard about the
Analogies and different metaphors, yeah?
Yeah. Supposedly, I think maybe I heard this from one of your talks, or maybe from one of yours, Neil. Someone who had access to some texts in the Vatican that were related to angelic characters, and when she actually read them in their original form, she was reading what sounded exactly like modern day abduction phenomena.
Right.
And she assumed that they had rewritten them as cherubim and angels, come up with this whole scenario to fit in.
For the whole Fatima incident is now looked upon as a possible alien encounter. I think.
Of all the Marian apparitions, it's unique because it has independent witnesses.
Apparently, a photograph of the sun, as they called it, the second sun appearing. No one found it for ages. This image. And it did surface many years later on the internet. So whether they were suppressing it, I don't know.
You could imagine the church controlling the information and the evidence to suit the narrative that they sell to the people, and so to God and the world.
Well, it makes me wonder that now you've got an American poke. Could he be CIA plant it?
It's hard to know. I mean, the new Pope Leo the 14th. It was selected a couple of days ago. I did a whole live stream about him last night. He's still a bit of an unknown quantity. We don't know exactly who he represents. We know he's appointed by Pope Francis, the cardinal. So he's quite a recent arrival in the Roman establishment.
Yeah.
But well, maybe you see the possibility, or whether we know that he spent a lot of time in South America.
You can imagine under his Pope hat, he's got an absolute bloody radio mast hidden on there, transmitting directly back to the security.
And of course, obviously Pope is a very he has no political authority, but obviously there was inevitably going to be political issues because he's one of the most powerful men in the world.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not because he holds the office as political, but because he commands the authority of so many people in such a huge institution, the oldest and largest institution on earth. And that is quite something, yeah. And I mean, the fact that he's American, I mean, although he spent most of his life actually in Peru, where he's also Peruvian in season, I know that Trump and Vance are being really happy about the fact that he's an American, and this doesn't mean that he's part of the whole 70 blatter thing or anything like that. That was a thought, but that's wishful thinking, it doesn't mean that will happen, but
get back to the Pope being I say it's true. I've heard reports about the fact that one of the traditions when they're selecting and checking the Pope is that they pick their Pope, and that as a final check they get the Pope to sit on the stool that's got a hole in it.
Yes, it's like Simone. And this is because they have to be sure the Pope's a man.
There's no way.
Yeah, and whether that still goes on, I don't know.
But in Middle Ages, an alleged, well, it's true, isn't it? A woman
was actually
managed to get to become the Pope. There's a film on Netflix they saw, did you? I remember that, a Netflix film where this woman became the Pope.
A male impersonator. Yeah. He actually became Pope. Of course, as we know, the Catholics only ordain men. So obviously this was declared void when it was discovered. But now, allegedly, it's that whether they still do it or not, the Pope has to prove he's a man. It's a bit undignified. I mean, there's talk about them making athletes do this. Do you remember at the Olympics? They have to drop their trousers in front of the judges and say, "Look, this is my gender."
He says, "Well, I might make the pole vault, but I don't think I'll make the Pope."
It's like because there was a bit confusion over some people's gender because, of course, athletes are they are sort of like slightly androgynous, aren't they?
So you can't just say you identify as Pope.
identify as a religious Catholic through his Pope. Yeah, that's right.
Yes. But no, the Pope has to sit down, allegedly, and all the cardinals line up and they look at his dangly bits and they say, yes, that's a no. He's all right. He can be Pope. But
That's in those issues.
I don't know if that's like an urban legend. It may be an urban legend or maybe it still goes on.
I think it's one of these traditions. This is how it's portrayed as an tradition. You could do it with blood tests and X-rays or
These days it's probably done from DNA or something.
yeah.
Cut out the middleman, literally.
Cut out something, yeah.
Get straight to it with the storyline.
I think that's why they had.
It was that desperate to me. I hope they would actually do that. I mean, but it's. Brother, I mean, the thing about the Pope, the papacy is the Vatican has a library, and there's apparently, according to Diana Walsh-Basolta, there are 50 miles of corridors, and it's all underneath. You say, where do they put it? The Vatican's only like a couple of hundred yards across. It's such a tiny state. It's underground. A lot of it's underground. Yeah, goes down like thousands of feet, and they got and there's all kinds of rumors about what might be down there. We know that they took documents from the various places around the world where they had missionaries. One of the jobs of the missionaries all over the world was to gather evidence, collate it and send it back to the Vatican. And
You think about it, anything is supernatural, related that goes against the narrative of the Catholic Church that they're selling would be locked away.
there's rumors that the real third secret of Fatima was never revealed. And the Pope put out in 2000. It's supposedly revealed.
Was it the assassination of course?
Well, this is what it is. Pope John Paul I died after just 33 days.
Yes, which I mentioned last night.
Yeah, actually. And then he was replaced by Pope John Paul II, who was actually a very long reigning Pope. He actually went from 1978 to 2020. It was when Benedict came along, 2013, 2014, whatever it was. And then, of course, he abdicated, which is very unusual for a Pope to abdicate. He died in 2022.
Yeah.
Very unusual for a Pope to. Popes always die in office.
Yes.
He was only the second papal abdication in history. And then they have Francis, and then of course then you got to Leo. And the thing about it is there is the Pope. This is what Danny Sheehan's talking about. It could be the Vatican will be the disclosure nation.
Yeah.
And it's all good. Small countries seem to be the ones that are most open to this, because all the major exopolitical initiatives over the last few years have come from these little tiny countries, these micro-nations, such as Grenada, an island in the Caribbean 10 miles across, St. Gary. And where's the biggest UFO conference today? San Marino. Again, a tiny little enclave inside Italy. Was that right? San Marino has a big UFO conference there. Yeah, it's a nation you could walk across and fight in an hour and a half. It's a very, very small nation, and so maybe the Vatican could be the disclosure nation, and we know they have the information. David Grush mentioned the 1933 Magenta UFO crash, and then the skeptics and the backslappers were going, it's not real, because they listened to Grush and they looked at the skeptics and what they said about it. But they didn't read the original documents, which were gathered by Roberto Panotti. He wrote an article called, it's like a booklet, a pamphlet called the Fascist UFO Files. Sounds dramatic, but it refers to the RS-34. In the early 1930s, Benito Mussolini, the fascist dictator, he set up RS-34, which is the world's first UFO governing department. So this is the Arrow. Or Nick Post's UFO desk many years earlier, and in 1933 in Magenta, which is just outside Milan, actually in Lombardy, there was allegedly which was covered up. It was a typical Roswell thing, although this was over a decade before Roswell. It's 15 years before Roswell. Well, there was this UFO connection. They covered it up. Now, one was basically, fascists said they fell at the end of World War II after the US invasion. Mussolini passed this evidence, including the flash direct, onto the Vatican, and then the Pope at the time, I think he was pious, he then back-channeled it to the Americans and then there was the invasion. Then the invasion happened, and I wonder if they kept anything. Yeah, there must be records there, you see, because then of course Mussolini was then killed and hung up. He was strung upside down in a petrol station forecourt, and but the records must still be there, the Vatican. Yeah. It could be that
the new Pope knows this, and therefore he could decide to go public. He could do the disclosure thing and say, well, yeah, there was a crash agreement in 1933. This is why I'm fascinated to find out. Danny Sheehan has done an entire interview in News Nation all about this. Yeah. Really interesting stuff, in
It is incredible. Funny enough, you're talking about Mussolini being hung upside down. I didn't know he's in a petrol station.
It's pretty cool. It was pretty.
But my granddad said, who was in the Second World War, he was a military policeman. He said he saw Mussolini hanging. Now, when I was a kid, I never knew who Mussolini was. I just remember saying, oh, I saw him hanging. Now, I never knew until all these years later that he was actually hung upside down. I just was hanging by the neck.
Yeah.
But then I read reports that not many Westerners or people from outside of Italy were aware that he was hung upside down until many years later. So I don't understand how my granddad saw him, because he was a military policeman, and I understood that he went out to Italy. So I don't know how he saw him. If kind of contradicts the official version. I don't know. It's just the story I was told.
They shoot you first, or you see out.
Yeah, did they drag him?
They just beat him to death.
Yeah.
They literally beat him senseless. Yeah, his wife as well. They just beat them senseless and just hung upside down. There's photographs of it. Yeah.
And is it a reason to hang upside down? There's something symbolic, isn't there?
It's a kind of like
To be humanised.
desecration.
Yeah.
Sounds like it's like a mafia thing, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a desecration.
It's not just hanging, it's punishment.
So they hang them upside down. Yeah. It's a reversal of the previous order.
Also, it's their pockets, and they can get some change.
Yeah. And there was a lot of change coming out of Mussolini's pockets. Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously, it's just like in Germany and other places, the Allies plundered the vanquished Axis powers.
Yeah.
And for everything, including like scientists and things like that, which hands probably for paperclip.
Yeah.
And people like Werner von Braun and Hans Kammler and Werner von Braun operated completely openly in the US under his own name. He got away with it. His war crimes record, I mean, literally that guy should have been hanged at Nuremberg because he was literally firing ballistic missiles at London.
Yeah.
Which is a war crime.
It just goes to show what's really important to powers that be.
Oh, yeah.
Not justice or protection of their own people and their friends, but to harness the power up.
Yeah, so that they can have the biggest stick.
If someone is useful, they will use them and they completely and ignore that. And
They'll wipe clean their record. Yeah.
it's like what Saddam was saying, all the trouble they went to get him. But then, in 1983, he was in the US shaking hands with Donald Rumsfeld, and I thought to myself, why didn't they just grab him then?
Yeah.
Save all the bother. But of course, they didn't because he was useful. Werner von Braun was useful to this. I mean, the rocket, supposed lunar rockets, the Saturn V, were based on those original V2 missiles.
Yeah.
These are the world's most ballistic missiles,
Yeah.
liquid-fueled rockets, and he's basically used that. And Hans Kammler ended up in the US under a fake name, along with several other people.
Right. So it's elbow.
Yeah, it's all right. And because he was involved in anti-gravity research.
Recently, I've had an urge to do that. Like my joints kind of feel uncomfortable, so the only way to relieve it is just to snap them into place.
But setting down. We'll see. Got one that keeps going.
Banging it on the door and stuff.
Keep banging it.
Sorry, guys. I should just say that Hans Kammler was involved in anti-gravity, research into anti-gravity and things like that. He was running this thing called the Wenceslas mine. Which is like in Poland, there was this mine where they were developing these anti-gravity crafts through the Bell and the B behind.
Oh yeah,
and that was at the end of the war. They actually blew up the entrance to the mine and buried, and then just caved in the end. They just caved up.
everything's still in there. They just caved it in.
It's still in there. To all we know, it's still in there to this day. I mean, it could be dug out.
That's what they said, but I can't see them turning down an opportunity to grab all that.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. You can only take everything first.
Well, the real prize is not the hardware they were developing in the laboratories. It's the people who were designing it,
because they can make
their science, their papers, their thoughts, their feelings, their papers and stuff like that.
Maybe they
was taken.
Maybe they took some bits, buried a lot of it. They don't really discover it.
But it'd be very easy once Kammler was in their grasp, and they would say to him, "Well, you got to work for us," and he would say, "If you don't, you go to Nuremberg, and we'll expose you." He would have had no choice. He essentially, it's like putting a gun to his head. He would have worked for the Americans or the Soviets to develop.
Anyone would.
Yeah, you'd have no choice. And it'd be very easy to recreate the laboratory and build new prototypes.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe that's what the Kecksburg incident was. The Kecksburg crash is described as like a valve-shaped object.
Yeah.
Maybe it was that. It may be that rather than an extraterrestrial thing. Yeah. That was like a crash retrieval in 1965 at Kecksburg, Pennsylvania. Yeah.
Right.
Skeptics say it was a Cosmos satellite. It was not, because a Cosmos satellite is a Soviet satellite. It did come down, but it came down in a completely different direction at the wrong time and the wrong place.
Talking of Cosmos things, Russian things coming down, isn't there a Russian Venus craft going to crash to Earth
sometime today? I don't know if it's today.
Well, yeah, it's
Today, apparently.
Because they don't know where it's from the land, right? That's what I've heard.
I took a bet out. I put tenner on the headquarters of William Hill.
So
there's 100,000 to what odds of it?
from around 1972.
Yeah.
Is that right?
It was going to go to Venus. It was a Venus probe,
And it misfired, or
the rocket failed and it ended up in Earth orbit, and it's been there ever since.
in Earth orbit.
Yeah.
Right.
And but now the orbit is decayed to the point where it's now going to deorbit. But they don't know exactly where or when. Sometime today they think
Over Britain or over Europe?
it could be anywhere within the 50th parallel north or south, which is really in the air. Rosehill. Most of the world.
Yeah, Atlantic or...
Well, I took a bet out on the headquarters of William Hill. 100,000 to 1. I put a tenner on, so if it lands there, I'd be very rich. But of course, the organisation will be destroyed, so I won't be able to collect.
No, you won't be able to collect it. That's a bit daft, isn't it?
Yeah. It's a shame, yeah. Now, the thing is, 90% of this area is sea, so it'll probably come down in the sea. But if it lands on land, it could come down anywhere. There's nothing you can do about it, because no one knows exactly where, the exact moment it'll enter it'll be in the Earth's atmosphere enough, so it will slow. We do know it will survive re-entry, because it's designed to survive re-entry to Venus. Yeah. Right. The hot, dense atmosphere of Venus. So it will definitely reach ground surface.
Right. It could come down, it'll obviously break up once it hits the ground. But
when it smashes, it'll leave it weighs a ton, so it'll leave quite a crater, actually. Yeah. If it lands in a populated area, it'll do considerable damage.
yeah.
It will cause like a big drop.
It's actually it falls like a sonic boom as it enters the
It will. But it will reach the ground surface intact, and it's very unlikely it'll hit a populated area. If you look at them, you'll see currently most of the world is still uninhabited by humans. It's really interesting. We think you don't realise we're having a density populated.
well, so overpopulated that people can't have children.
Yes, that's why they have to kill everyone with the vaccines and things like that.
The road is just so full up.
Yeah, they have to stop to get a back.
This is usually really you near saying.
I'm going to ask Mark Devlin, which part of the flat Earth will this Venus probe come down?
Yes, oh God, I don't know what Mark will say about this. I don't know.
It could end up in that very far corner, just on the very edge, and then just fall off.
Probably right on. If you escape it, if you go sort of further north than Birmingham, you'll probably be safe, because it's like a 54 parallel or something. It'll come down.
Right.
But really, it's so unlikely it's going to hit you. You might as well worry about a sinkhole.
I remember when Skylab was coming down in 1979.
I remember that, yeah.
There was some guy in Texas, I think it was, because they thought it might come around down in that area, but I think it ended up in Australia.
Drink.
Now we're going to leave Sue.
All right. I'm good there.
They were selling builder's hats, Bob the Builder type safety hats in Texas. And protect yourself from Skylab. The guy just excited door in the head. You're protected. And he's selling for $1 a helmet or something.
Well, someone made a lot of a scam, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
The thing about it is, it's so unlikely. It's a possibility that it's like worrying about having it's worrying really about you're walking under a building and it falls over at that moment or something like that. Walking under a tree when there's no wind and it'll fall over at that moment. There's someone made a lot of that's a scam. That was an absolute scam. There was some problems where there was an early, I think it was one of the Salyuts, one of the early Soviet space stations. Sometime in the 90s, it was abandoned, and the Roscosmos just said, well, it'll come down. Eventually, it'll decay and come down. And then everyone, the United Nations and people are saying, you can't let it do that. It's got a plutonium reactor on board. It was powered by nuclear power. You can't just let that come down anywhere, because it would devastate the environment, not just the explosion. The radioactive waste. You got to give it a controlled deorbit, or it lands somewhere in the middle of the Pacific Ocean or somewhere. So they had to send up a crew of astronauts up there, and they had to like arrange and control the orbit so it came down somewhere out of the way where it can't do any harm.
You'd think they'd send up Bruce Willis, at least Bruce Willis.
Oh yeah.
Send him up there, screw this alien, whatever it is, and then just fire it off into far orbit around the sun or something.
It's tempting to do that. It's like, there was someone said, "Why don't you just fire radioactive waste up into space?" Well, firstly, it could blow up while it's being launched, which would but then you basically the whole area around the space center is like off limits for 100,000 years.
Yeah.
Or it will you go up in orbit, but it might come back.
Yeah.
Things just leave a certain area. They go through keyhole. I know this because of my space weather reports. They go through keyhole points. So wherever you start something going around orbit, it'll usually come back eventually to where it started.
Yeah.
And then you'd have this thing. Then we'd have it go crashing back down off the Earth in like 150 years or something, or with all this nuclear waste on board. It would it'd be really pretty awful. I mean, that won't be pleasant, would it? And the whole nuclear power thing is obsolete anyway. It's not needed. It's pointless because we have free energy, which they know that.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dogman will be getting that anytime soon.
Well, you never know. I mean, I think maybe we will. I hope so. I think do so. Yeah.
Well, what do you think about all the old, the ancient Tartaria stuff? Because I keep seeing more and more of these photos where you get like a building from our era, like the Edwardian buildings or something, and then they're excavating them, and underneath you get like this Tartarian building way under street level. And in Italy, in Livorno, I keep discovering these buildings, and just like those Tartarian architecture, there's a whole train station area that they are refurbishing. It's currently off limits, but you can see it from the road, and it looks like ancient Tartaria. If you look up Livorno train station, across the road in the actual train station now, there is a building, the extent it's ancient Tartarian, and it's currently being refurbished, and it looks like it's from another world.
It sounds really, it sounds bizarre, but there's so much evidence for this. It's really uncanny. The pictures of children in the suite is that the adults were gotten rid of for the reset. And there's like that whole film of San Francisco before the earthquake, 1906.
Yeah, and all those buildings in Australia and San Francisco that.